I can't tell if it's recording or not, because I don't know what the heck that little dot means over there. But I'll say maybe it is. So if it is, it is. My cows are destroying my set. Come here, baby. Get it there. Get it there. Back up. Go away. Go find some hay. Go on. Shoot. Here, take this. Get at him. Yeah. Ha! Go. Hit it. Go on. Go on. Go on. Come on. Get. There you go. Bring it. I'm gonna get. Alright, this is my stick. Yeah. I'll get you some hay later. Okay. Pretty good stick. Okay. Alright. Let's see. Look. Alright, hey everybody. Let's see, make sure I can see that map in there. Everything's clear here. Are we recording? I hope so. Maybe I figured out how to do it without a time hack. I don't know. Anyhow, okay, so trying to figure out what's going on. I don't know. May not be. So it's been a little while. What is it? It's February 20th. And there's a lot of things going on. Yeah, not good. Some of it is, some of it ain't. But I wanted to discuss a couple things. I didn't put out my last one. Kind of overlooked it, but it has to do with the Middle East, okay? And what is going to happen here? And it's going to be another kind of a drawing out of our forces to weaken us further before they launch the main show and wherever else they go. And over here, okay. But anyway, I remember in my first few videos I did, I said I always wondered how they were going to pull off moving all their gear without setting off alarm bells everywhere. And we're watching that happen now. You know, I mean, what's going on is it's sort of like a big, in football, you know, the wide receivers, they do a little juke, you know, to throw off the defensive end, cover them, and they get him going one way and then he goes the other way, and that's kind of what's going on. And we've got, the world is focused on kind of like Ukraine, you know, militarily, but there's a lot of things going on elsewhere. There's things going on in Africa, there's things going on here, you know, there's things going on down here, and these are all things that are supporting this other op. You know, you got your three major, you know, the West, then you got these guys, and then you got these guys, okay, and these guys, and, you know, these guys. But these guys are all going to have to either go to one side or the other side, and so are these guys, probably, and everybody else. But this is going to be the elimination of this, in their eyes, this problem is going to be the beginning of the resettling of everything else, okay? So, to get this problem taken care of, they're going to do a draw a lot of us over there. There's a lot of us there already, and these guys are going to use these guys to hit us here and out here, and also these guys are going to use these guys, little Taiwan there, to get us baited out there also, so they can sink our Navy, and also hit Pearl Harbor again in Hawaii and parts of Alaska, because there'll be, you know, there's a lot of things going on up here with the Russes too. You know, they've got a lot of knowledge about what's going on up in here. Anyhow, let me see if it's recorded at all. Figure out the camera. Got the juices going now a little bit. Okay, so that little dot means I am recording. So, alright. Welcome to the Fellowship of the Fortified Tower again. Been a long time. It's February 20th, 2023. And there's a lot going on. Some good, some not so good. And there's a lot of folks hurting right now. Worse than they were. And just had some major chemical spills. And it looks like it's continuing. And these are all kind of stepping stones, you might say, that certain forces, you know, allied with certain forces, are using to weaken us further, basically. And they're doing a pretty good job of it. And you know, on the surface, you'll hear explanations of this or that, and you know, but the bottom line is really that a lot of these events are culminating to a head, and the eventual head of it is going to be, you know, a whole rearrangement of the world. Okay, and we're not invited, basically, except for being used for resources and slave labor. And one of the things I wanted to go over that I left out in my last brief was regarding the Middle East. And shortly after I did my last brief, there was some action over there, and it reminded me of that also, you know, that the events that are people have seen that are going to further weaken the United States, because they're going to draw us into these traps. And one of the traps is right in here. I mean, this, you know, geographically speaking, this is a choke point, and a lot of the world's oil comes out of here, and you know, somehow we're going to get tied back in here again, and it's probably going to be over oil, and maybe supporting Israel in some fashion. But they're gonna get us drawn in over there, and our Navy's going to be involved out here, and these guys are going to nail our guys somewhere here near Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. There's a port there, and some other facilities that we utilize with our military. And we have a lot of our Army and Air Force there, and Navy, and it's a huge support base. I mean, we've spent millions and millions, maybe billions of dollars there, building it up, and it's as far as these guys are concerned, and these guys, it's a ripe grape ready for picking, because it's not very far away from anything they have, really, you know. And especially these guys right here. These guys have been, the last 20 years, building up their Navy and their military quite a bit. And don't believe everything you hear on the news about nuclear weapons they don't have. Because, you know, we were able to develop a nuclear bomb, an atomic bomb, in a couple of years. You know, with the know-how we had and some of the manpower we had back in the 40s and late 30s, 40s, and in the Manhattan Project, and these guys, all they did every day was just work on the problem, try to find a solution to the problem, and that's what they did, and they pulled it off. Now at the same time, there were other people over here and in Germany working on the same project, okay? And after the war, some of the guys that were in Germany ended up coming over here to help augment our development of these projects. And these guys were given information, you know, through back channels, you might say, to develop their program. Now, you know, these guys have been working on it for I don't know how long, but a long time. And, you know, they've had the Israelis nail them and blow up all their stuff, you know, over and over again. But, you know, it's like the old saying, you know, you throw enough stuff against the wall, some of it's going to stick. And there's no way that we can hit every little place that they might be building this kind of stuff. It's a big desert, and there's a lot of hills and mountains and holes in the ground. So these guys, I would imagine, they have nuclear weapons already, okay? Now when the time comes and they get us drawn up in here, they're probably going to nail that base pretty hard with nuclear weapons, and they're going to sink a few of our large boats, okay? And it's going to put a real big dent in our Navy. And at the same time, possibly, or right in the same general time frame, China is going to, with the help of the North Koreans, they're going to launch an invasion on Taiwan. And they're not going to do this just, you know, willy-nilly. They've got this all planned out. Okay, they've got everything cataloged. It's over here in Hawaii. Everything in San Diego, Bremerton, Pensacola, and all the different, Norfolk, Virginia, all these different places that would be able to support a war over here in defense of Taiwan, okay? They are very meticulous, and they have left no stone unturned as far as their plan. Now, you know, the military itself, our military right now has been diminished quite a bit. There's a lot of them that are sick as dogs because of certain things that they've been forced to, you know, receive into their bodies, and you know, that's happening all over the United States. I mean, there's thousands of people every day that are succumbing to this plague. Okay, and I mean, it's so sad. It just saddens me greatly. I knew this was going to happen, and it's starting to, you know, happen in a great number, and it's going to continue. And a lot of the workforce of the United States has now also been diminished. Okay, so you've got, you know, as far as the Chinese, these guys are concerned, and these guys are concerned, the best of both worlds is happening over here right now with, you know, the diminishing of the workforce and our military. And, you know, the only ones that are safe in our military aren't in our military any longer. They were forced out, and they will probably be called back, all right?
at some point there'll be a draft, and you know, these things don't happen overnight. Okay, they're going to happen over a period of time. All right. There's a lot of people now, you know, screaming, "Oh, World War III," you know, it's da da da, and it's true. We're at the most dangerous time probably in the history of our country, the history of the world, and you know, the war is at the door. It definitely is at the door, but I don't think it's going to be over, you know, anytime real soon. We're going to get involved in some of these conflagrations first, and now some of these conflagrations, they may not take very long. Okay, you know, once the missile gets through the deck, it doesn't take long to sink a ship. All right, especially with all the ordnance that's on board, and the fact that they're very far away from any support, and the fact that the forces allied against them have got all their ducks in a row, and they are serious, and you know, they are not going to hesitate to sink 3 or 4 carriers. Okay, it's just to them, it's just a step into the progress of the overall plan. Okay. One day, you know, we're all going to wake up and the news is going to be really bad, and all the folks that live here, okay, that have loved ones, you know, sons and daughters and husbands and brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles and grandparents that are in the military are going to be taking a heavy blow to their hearts, and the whole country as a whole is going to, and they're all going to, you know, this sense of tremendous grief is going to overwhelm the country, and then you know, a serious sense of anger will take that over pretty quick, and then, you know, there'll be, I would imagine there's going to be a lot of people with vengeance on their minds and payback on their minds, like we saw in 9/11, and but things are different, you know, and our military is not what it was then, and it's going to be difficult to spool up. You know, these ships are not built in a week. Okay, and I imagine some of the port facilities in Hawaii are going to be destroyed, and Hawaii itself may be taken. Guam is going to be taken. So, like I was saying, Guam is probably going to get hit pretty good and taken, and at some point the Japanese are going to come to the aid of Taiwan also in this, and I don't know how that's all going to play out, but eventually circumstances are going to be such that I guess the Japanese are going to have to link up with China, because they're going to have to, I guess, for some reason. It may be that their island is destroyed in an earthquake / volcanic thing, and they have to evacuate a whole large portion of their population, and China's nearby, and they'll probably be more than happy to accommodate them, and they'll become, you know, allied. You know, the political situation of the world will have changed quite a bit by then, so it may be advantageous for them to do so, because they're involved in the later in the invasion of the United States with China on the west coast, and they're going to be coming in up here, up near Astoria, Washington, I think. But anyway, so that's why I just wanted to mention this this action going on over here in the Middle East. It's also going to be used as a method of drawing our forces away from the United States. as it is right now, I mean, we're sending a lot of gear over there into Ukraine and into Europe to support the Ukrainian action over there, and we're depleting a lot of our own gear here. And I don't know how many troops we have over there right now, but you know, that's a lot of troops that are, if they're there, they're not here. So I heard the 82nd Airborne is heading that way, and 101st Airborne, and you know, that is not good. And I know that it's not going to go well for Poland, and it's not going to go well for Germany or France. And the folks over there are going to be, you know, taking most of the brunt of it in the early part of this whole thing. So, but I know that the Russians and the Chinese are still going to wait until you know, certain events in the United States just basically nails it and gives them the, you know, the confidence that they can just do what they're going to do and come in here. It'll be the opportunity that they've been waiting for, and that likely will be when there's a large earthquake that hits Chicago area and California, West Coast area, and this whole area gets flooded, and there might be a tsunami also that hits the East Coast that diminishes our ability to really do a whole lot. And they may offer assistance at first, you know, but it won't be long until they, you know, quietly place their people in safe places and remove the rest and hit us with their, you know, keep your heads down bombing moment. So, and then, you know, after they've taken pictures and analyzed their film and their satellite imagery and all of that, and they'll adjust their plan, and then they'll come in. And it's not going to be that's not going to be an overnight thing either. You know, I mean, they're gonna bring in a lot of airborne troops, I imagine, from up here. Somehow, Canada will be forced to capitulate and you know, sort of look the other way or whatever. But they're gonna, in Mexico, they're gonna come up through Mexico. They're gonna come across, you know, from Cuba, Venezuela, and this area. And as it is right now, I mean, they've already got a whole bunch of agents, you might say, that are filling the country up from the south, you know, the southern underbelly of our country, and then they're being dispersed throughout the country in different cities right now to create havoc, to further weaken the country and get it into a state of chaos, to the point where there's going to be some tyrannical dictates coming down from high that are going to really restrict the population as far as availability of food and water and transportation and resources, and you know, a lot of this is going to be coming all at the same time. And you know, at that time, who knows who's going to be actually in the White House. You know, I don't think it's the person that's in there now. I think he's he's a short timer right now, and whoever they bring in it's likely to be Kamala, and she's only going to drag things worse into, you know, depravity and whatnot, and weaken everything further. And you know, they're all, you know, there's a consortium of bad ones that are actually running all this. And I mean, you look up in the sky and you can see what else they're doing every day, and it's not good for the plants, and it's not good for the animals, and it sure is not good for you and I, and the insects and everything else. And you know, they're turning it into Borg world, so, and it's just not good. And then, you know, they'll stage a alien invasion landing and lie about all of that, and a lot of people are going to go with it. You know, they're going to believe it and whatnot. But I had a dream too. I was going to mention a couple weeks ago, and in the dream, I was in China, and I was up in the mountains. I was a POW, you might say, and it was cold, and I wasn't wearing a whole lot. I was wearing like this white kind of cloth large shirt thing with flip-flops, and I was in some kind of a old Chinese structure that had been built a long time ago, kind of like almost like a monastery, but it was being utilized as a headquarters slash you know, business outlet, you might say, or a labor camp slash you know, administrative function to utilize this labor to mine the mountains of some minerals. I don't know what they were, but there were a lot of slaves, and I was one of them. And an opportunity came up to escape, because I was always looking for a way to you know, get out of there, and get to some other country that was neutral. And I didn't have a map, and I didn't have a memory really of the countries that were nearby China. You know, I knew that you know, Russia was to the north, and Mongolia was to the north, and India was, you know, to the southwest and all that, but I didn't really know where I was. And I knew I was up in the mountains, and I knew which way north was and all that, but I just didn't really have a real good idea where I was. So my plan was to find out where I was, and you know, in the course of escaping somehow. And so what happened, there was a lot of trains coming in and out of this place, and there were two tracks that were side by side, and there was incoming cars. They were like large, not flatbeds, but they were like big coal cars, and they had, you know, they had walls to the outside of them, but the walls were probably only about 5-6 feet deep, you know. And so my plan was to hop on one of these trains going down, and then hide in this car somehow, and escape by not being observed by any of the forces that were. And there was a lot of Chinese military guys that were patrolling and going back and forth. There was a lot of activity, and I was in this building, and there was places where they had these pots with a lot of hot coals in them, and they were used to keep the place warm. And it was like part of our job was to keep these things filled up and keep the administrators warm in this high altitude place, you know, where it was cold. And there was snow on the ground, you know, there was snow on the hills, on the mountainsides and stuff, and it was a real rocky kind of very you know, severe terrain that they had built this whole railroad system through, and where this place was. And there was very colorful. There was a lot of colorful, like pennants and drapes, and you know, the stuff that it looked like, it reminded me of one of their dragon parades, you know, where they have the dragons go through town, you know, and everybody's got all these colorful, you know, decorations all over the place. Well, it was kind of like that, and in their decorating scheme, it was a lot of reds, and then there was yellows and oranges and greens, you know, and there was it was you know, there was a sort of a beauty to it in a way, but the circumstances were just awful, and we weren't being fed really well. I remember the feeling that I had was that I wanted to initiate this escape before I became too weak to pull it off. And there were 2 or 3 other people that were with me that I was, you know, working on this plan with, and